Wanted to share a quick update, stuff I've been working on. Since the last one here that I did at the beginning of March, I know I talked about, well, I had some trees here and I discussed how I wanted to add some more. And so that's what I did. I'm filming from this side, I don't feel like moving, but I put a second row of trees in, mainly on this side of the tracks. Roughly a second row, but they extend all the way up. Oh, jeez. All the way up, and I have right up to just about between the telegraph pole and the signal right now. I intend to make a couple more and have them extend up to the bridge, but I think it looks pretty good. I added a couple more on this side, but the majority is on the other side, and I have a couple videos that shows what it looks like from over there. It looks pretty good. I still want to finish out this corner as well as over here with some farmland, soybeans and corn and whatnot, so that's coming eventually, but the immediate area on the tracks, I would almost call that complete. It looks pretty much the way I want it to. Now, something I've been thinking about over here, I just watched there's a really good video uploaded to YouTube. It's the Sunday River Productions nickel plate Berkshire video. And there's a couple scenes in there of Berks going by a wreck. And I kind of have the idea of modeling a derailment here. I bought some cars like a year ago or so, some real cheap Weaver, maybe? I don't know what they were. I want to say Weaver. They were like almost semi-scale New York Central coal cars, coal hoppers. I bought them for like 10 bucks a piece. So I bought them. I think I bought 3 of them for $30. And I knew they were semi-scale. I thought they looked okay, and I got them back home, and they didn't. And so they just kind of been sitting for now. I don't really use them on the trains I run because they don't really fit in. But anyway, I kind of had the idea. I'm thinking about creating a wreck scene over here, derailment scene, a cleanup scene. And I'll use those hoppers. I'll put them on their sides and weather them up, and maybe tear out some of these clump foliage and trees and put a bunch of, spilled ballast and cinders and dirt and things. And I bought this crane here on eBay for like, I don't know, 20 bucks. I don't know who makes it. Well, I do, but it's escaped me right now. I forget who makes it, but I was thinking about them, I replaced the hopper here with a crane or a hook. Yeah, I had some guys and a couple other things. It might look decent for a cleanup scene. So that's kind of I'm on the fence about it. If I don't end up doing it, this is still a pretty nice crane. I might potentially repaint it. I might not, but Lorraine is a pretty industrial area, so I might put it over here somewhere and clean up some of this and put a little industrial scene down here. So that's to be determined. But aside from that, not much really is new over here. The only thing I'm thinking about doing, I might take down that crossing gate tower. I don't like how it looks. It's all, well, for right now, it's all lopsided. It's not straight, so that's its own problem, but I don't know, I might take it out. I also ordered some cantilever style crossing flashers that are finally going to finish out that seam there across the road. And aside from that, I'll kind of come over here. Not too much is new here. I still need to do a couple things. Like when I redid the backdrop here, this track no longer fits, so I need to just take that and chop it down and cut that so it fits. I don't know, maybe just finish up some ground cover here, extend the road a bit, and maybe touch up this parking lot. I have the missing section for the station, it's just not painted, so I got to do that. I don't know, just little things that I got to finish up. And then over here, I got to totally do this area. I haven't touched the highway scene at all above. So I really want to get that done as well. I suffered a bad derailment here about 2 weeks ago, and it took out the one signal. And somehow it still lights, but it's a little bit lopsided. Got to fix that. I think it took out the wires in the other one, so, little things over here. The main progress has taken place over here at the engine terminal. It's looking really good. The cooling tower is pretty much done, but the lights have given me a hell of a time trying to get them to work. I put them in, they come undone. I always have a bulb out or something. So I ended up tearing off all the lights I had on there, which is a shame. It looked really cool. I replaced them. I put 2 up here. There was one over here, but the bulb died. I bought some real cheap bulbs that just burned out real quick. I do use incandescents, and I haven't had a problem. Like that BM tower, that's the first thing I lit up. And that thing's been burning for, 2 years now at this point. But these ones, the ones I bought more recently were junk, and they burn out immediately. So between that and the wiring stuff, I had one here, but it burned out. I had one up here, but it also, I think, burned out. Couple others. So this is a work in progress. I'm going to redo some of the lighting. but you know, it's on the layout. All work I need to do, I'll do it from just here in the layout. So I'm gonna try and keep it pretty simple. I do have these two up here. I'm gonna add a few more down at the bottom, but it looks pretty good. It's all weathered up, repainted, weathered up. I have all my 3D printed stuff up here. I think it looks really good. I'm pretty proud of it. This is loosely based off the nickel plate coaling tower that was in Calumet Yard in Chicago. Now this is technically a Pennsy terminal, but you know, that's the closest prototype I could find. And I also think it just looks cool with all that exposed machinery up top, so I think it looks good. Additionally, I moved this Pennsy signal here. It used to sit across the tracks facing this way, so this would technically be northbound direction, so it was a northbound signal here. With the coaling tower here, it kind of ruined the sight lines. You really couldn't see the signal. If you were a train crew coming up here, essentially you have the pier of the post of the coaling tower directly in the way. And, you know, I already have the signal up there. So I ended up moving this one over here, and I'm going to make it into an automatic signal. So I'm going to put a number plate on it. And, you know, because my thought was, and this is the railroader in me, because I do like to have somewhat correct operations. My thought was, you know, GB Tower's going to go here at Blaisdell. So you come off Blaisdell, you would get a signal at GB, and you would run, you know, this would really be 50 miles, but, you know, you run down here, and you would take the diverging route to go onto the Pennsy here, come down, and then you would have this automatic signal, this intermediate signal, which would give you, you know, up to Mayville, wherever you'd be going. Now, I still want to have a signal that would protect the switch here with the nickel plate connection track. So I think I'm going to get a Pennsy dwarf signal, and I might put it right here, right at the edge of the station. So it'll be right about here. Now that kind of, I guess, somewhat defeats the purpose for having this signal up here, but the Pennsy, I know some of their interlockings use what was called exit signals, and I believe that was, the way I understand it, is if you had like a diverging route, which would require you to slow down, the exit signal would be at the far end of the interlocking. So for, let's say you had a medium, say a medium clear, which is a signal that you would go through an interlocking, you take a medium clear, and then at the end of the interlocking, you would get a regular clear, and you could proceed back from like medium speed to track speed. So I can kind of treat it like that. This would be, the dwarf signal would be your, the signal that gets you onto the switch. Let's say the best you would get would be like a medium clear, for example, and then you would hit a regular clear once you clear the switch, and you can take off for Buffalo. So that's kind of my thought there. And there's a guy I know who makes 3D printed dwarf signals. I think would look really good. In addition, speaking of dwarfs, I want to replace this signal here. This is a, I don't even know who makes it, but I got it cheap. It's part of a package. I don't know how old it is. I think it's probably like 40 years old. It looks okay, but it's not lit up. And my local hobby store has a really nice custom signals. GRS, I think it's GRS, maybe it's US, and it might be a USNS style dwarf, which is perfect for the nickel plate prototype. And next time I'm up there, I'm going to buy it and replace this with that one. And that one actually is lit. I think it would look really good. And again, if you're coming off the Pennsy here, Blaisdell, GB, you'd run down the nickel plate, and I guess this would give you a diverging signal, because you would take the switch here. You can see it's aligned right now for the nickel plate. And then my thought was, once you would get on the nickel plate, this would, I guess, be the signal that BM would control. You would have to get a signal before you switch on to the nickel plate and go west. So that will go there. Now back to the coaling tower here. I kind of got in a big sidebar. The coaling tower is done, aside from the lighting. Now in addition, I wanted to model more of a service facility here. So I got this Atlas coaling tower, or not coaling tower, Atlas water tower, steel water tower, assembled it, painted it, weathered it, and it's just sitting back here. It's not glued in or anything. It's just resting back here for now. But I put that there. It came with some penstocks, which I haven't built yet. But the penstocks, I think it has 2 penstocks. So I'm going to put the penstocks. I haven't quite decided where yet. I think I'm going to put one here. One here. And then the other one, I don't know yet. Maybe here. I might try and squeeze it in between here. The reason I don't want to put it in between these 2 lights, which I'll get to in a second, is I want to have some wires in between them. Because I've seen that in some prototypes. I think it looks cool, and I like the idea of having just little details like that. And having the penstocks here will get in the way of the wires. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure where the penstocks are going to go yet, but they will be on. I'm going to paint them and weather them the same way I did this. I think the weathering came out pretty good on this. I like how it looks, based it off some prototype photos. And then I also did, this is a MTH yard light tower. I did paint it. It was originally silver, so I painted it black. It had a couple issues with lighting, so I had to redo some of the lighting on it. So it has a couple additional wires up top and running down here, but whatever, I don't really care. But I think it looks good. Painted it, painted the base, weathered it as well. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is weathered. And I think that looks good. And now this track here, well, this track and this track would be for, you know, filling up with coal and water, or not water, but filling up with coal, yeah, and water, I guess, and whatever else. And I have a chute here, and I also 3D printed a chute. That's kind of hard to see, but there's another chute in there. I don't know, these cameras suck at focusing. Sorry, but it's up there. And then this little spur track here, this is going to be the, I'm calling it a dump house. I don't know what the actual name is, but essentially you bring a coal hopper in, a bottom dump coal hopper. Got tape on my finger. But it'd be a bottom dump coal hopper. It would dump the coal in, and then it would go up the skip hoist and be loaded into the silo. But it was like a small little like corrugated steel building that will basically go from here, just encapsulate this track. And that'll have a couple additional lights on it, things like that. But that's why this track is here. And I got to 3D print that, which I haven't done yet. So that will go here, and then everything else. It's going to be a pretty busy place. And I'm also going to do a machinery house where I have this weathering stuff. There will be a little machinery house probably sitting right about here. And that will go for the coaling tower for the skip hoist. So it's going to be a pretty happening area, and not a lot of room. I'm pretty happy with how I was able to use this space. Before the track, it was just one track, and it just curved and went off the way out right here. So I built this little extension. You can see where it kind of comes over. Built a little extension here and extended the hillside and tore out some of my scenery. It was a lot of work, and it's been a process, but I'm glad I did it. I think it looks pretty good. And I think it'll look a lot better when it's done. You know, I'm pretty close to getting some ground cover down, which will be mostly cinders. And I also put these lights in as well. These are little inspection lights. These are little 1.5 volt incandescent bulbs with lampshades attached. I believe they're actually HO scale. And I just put them in a little thing of sheet styrene, or of tubed styrene, painted it, and it only has like one coat of paint on it, you can see. I'll eventually weather it. I have 3 of them. I have 2 are facing this direction. This one's supposed to be facing this direction, like that. I got to redo the glue there. And then I have a 3rd one that faces this way because both tracks are servicing tracks. I didn't put any over here, because like I said, this is going to be inside of a building. But that's most of what I'm looking at here. Now, a couple other things I'd like to, that are on the plans here to do soon. I don't know why this thing is not focusing. It's super annoying. Is trees. I want to finish up all of these trees. I want to have this area looking like that. Now, something I'm going to do here. Now, I've been pretty fortunate that all my backdrops, for the most part, are hidden by bridges here, and you know, the Turnpike and the New York Central over there. This spot is not going to have a bridge here. So what I'm going to do instead is I really want to obscure this with a tree tunnel, essentially. They're pretty prominent on the prototype today in 2026, but yeah, I don't think there's quite as many trees back then in the 50s as there is now. So I kind of took some creative liberty here, but if there's no trees, it's really boring. So I wanted to have something to break up the monotony. Anyway, over here, I'm going to have a nice, real thick section of trees along the outside of that curve there. As it approaches the backdrop, it's going to get really, really tight. And this is a really shadowed in area, I apologize. But it's going to get really, really tight with trees here. And I actually think I might put a little piece of cardboard or something right over top the top of the opening here on the backdrop. With some trees attached to that. So essentially the trains will disappear into a cove of trees and appear underneath the bridge here. Luckily, this area is not a very much viewed area of the layout anyway. So I think it's going to help to, number one, hide the curve, which is my biggest goal here, and also hide the transition. I think it'll look good as well when you're viewing the layout from down here. And you can see it kind of already does that the track kind of disappears. But again, I'm trying to get rid of all the curves as much as I can. So I think it'll look good, because when you're looking at this part of the layout, I think especially when it's complete, the main focal point your eyes will be drawn to is going to be the coaling facility and the main line is kind of going to be in the background. So as much as and I think by partially obscuring it, it's going to be even better. It's just going to kind of disappear and go off, and you won't really, it'll help, I think it'll help take away the fact that it's just a loop and just a curve. I mean, obviously the size of the layout is pretty obvious, but I think it'll at least help to kind of create an illusion of the train continuing off straight, going somewhere, instead of just looping around behind the coaling facility. So that's kind of my plan for that area. Aside from that, I really want to finish up this, get GB Tower printed and done, weathering up the bridge, finish up some ground cover over here, and you know, a couple other small things to this side of the layout, and then I'll kind of go back on the other side and do all the stuff that I had mentioned before. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at here. I got a lot more to share soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.